Ethereum fees set to drop for Arbitrum, Polygon, Starknet base. But how much? Leading figures behind Layer 2 teams told CoinDesk how Ethereum's upcoming Dencun upgrade will affect their networks and costs. Ethereum's milestone Dencun upgrade, expected next week, is expected to result in lower costs for Layer 2 blockchains to stash data on the main blockchain, a reduction that's likely to be passed along to users of the auxiliary networks in the form of lower fees. CoinDesk spoke with Polygon's Jordi Baylina, Arbitrum's Goldfeder, StarkWare's Ben-Sasson, and Base's Pollak to get their predictions on the impact. Ethereum developers are gearing up for the blockchain's next big upgrade happening next week, called Dencun. It's supposed to issue in a new era of lower costs for Layer 2 blockchains, including so-called rollup networks that aim to offer faster and cheaper transactions than on the main blockchain. But just how much lower? Dencun will be the biggest upgrade, technically a hard fork in blockchain parlance, that the network will undergo in almost a year. The main component in Dencun is called EIP 4844, or more commonly proto-dank sharding, which will bring in a new type of transaction class that reduces the costs of publishing data of transactions on rollups through the introduction of data blobs. These blobs are a separate place in a transaction where rollup networks or other protocols could temporarily stash data, sometimes described as a sidecar that doesn't take up space in the main car. As a result of more blobs, the costs for these Layer 2 networks to stash data on Ethereum will be significantly cheaper, and the reduction is likely to trickle down to users in the form of lower fees. But how exactly it will all shake out is still ambiguous, according to many Ethereum experts. We asked leading Layer 2 teams, including Polygon, Arbitrum, StarkWare, and Coinbase's Base, for their predictions. Post-Dencun, Polygon co-founder Jordi Baylina told CoinDesk in an interview at the ETH Denver conference last week in Colorado that prices should go down mainly because it's a matter of supply and demand. Your supply is bigger, the data availability on Ethereum is going to be bigger, so the price should go lower. By how much? We don't know. It's difficult to predict, Baylina said. He mentioned that he welcomes the upgrade as it's an important first step in the roadmap that Vitalik Buterin laid out, focusing on activity moving to rollups in order to scale the blockchain. Brendan Farmer, another co-founder of Polygon, added that there will be different benefits for zero-knowledge ZK rollups and optimistic rollups, the two major types. For optimistic rollups, you have to pay for proving that data exists in a 7-day delay, but for ZK rollups, these costs are very, very low, Farmer added. Polygon's latest tech, it might be inferred, relies on the ZK rollup, Arbitrum. Goldfeder, the co-founder of Offchain Labs, the developer firm behind the Layer 2 network Arbitrum and optimistic rollup, said that Dencun will expose something very, very interesting, which has been sort of the backdrop for a few years, and what that is, it helps in loan fees, Goldfeder told CoinDesk at ETH Denver. We also pay the Layer 2, and if you think about it, the reason why is because there are certain operations that use a lot of data on Layer 1 and use nothing on Layer 2, and there are certain operations they put like basically nothing on Layer 1, then they just use a ton of Layer 2, Goldfeder added. Every ecosystem decides for themselves how they go about pricing and data on a Layer 1 versus a Layer 2. Some of our competitors price Layer 2 fees at essentially zero, and that's not sustainable, Goldfeder said. If you're pricing gas at zero, someone could just DOS the network by just using this resource for free and just keep doing this free. And I think that's going to come very much to the forefront. StarkWare CEO Ben-Sasson said that blobs will significantly reduce, but it depends on the prices of the blobs that fill up. Ben-Sasson told CoinDesk that 90% of the cost that users are paying for transactions are related to the cost of data on the Layer 1. So it means that if now this data gets added into blobs and let's say the price is tanks lower, then 90% of the cost goes down by a factor of 10. StarkWare is the primary developer behind the Layer 2 network Starknet, and the team has been working behind the scenes to prepare Starknet's infrastructure for proto-dank sharding the minute it goes live. You would always want to be ready on day one. I'm glad that we managed to do that. It wasn't clear that we could, but we sort of rushed through it. Base, in an interview last week with CoinDesk's The Protocol podcast, Pollak, head of protocols at Coinbase and creator of the Base Layer 2 network, broke it down. He estimated that the blob space opened up by proto-dank sharding will be roughly 4 times what Ethereum rollups are currently using. At that level of demand, transactions would be really cheap, since the fee rates are market-based, said Pollak, who oversees development of the U.S. crypto exchange's Layer 2 blockchain. With no increase in usage, costs could fall by 90% to 95%. But he said it's likely that the low costs could lead to higher usage, and as demand creeps back up, it's going to find some stable equilibrium, and fees might ultimately end up 2 to 5 times less than they are now. A reduction of 2 times would imply per transaction costs around 10-15 cents, while a drop of 5 times would put the figure under 5 cents, he said. Coinbase's own goal is to see sub-cent transaction costs, he said. Because of the market mechanism for setting fee rates, it's impossible to predict exactly, Pollak said. Read more. Ethereum developers target March 13 for milestone Dencun upgrade on. Mainnet Bradley Cowan contributed reporting.